130,000 soldiers in Afghanistan.
Okay.
They got, I don't know how many thousand they got in Iraq. Now they may have this so-called issue in Libya. The AMA, the American Doctors Association, just said that 75% of the young men who applied for the Army failed the physicals. Do they have anybody left to go and fight? I mean, and they said they failed the physicals, Dr. Warren and Alderman Jones, was because of obesity. I mean, who do we have left to fight? All they can do at this point is flybys, drop bombs on people.
I'm trying to ask, what are the people to do?
Well, let me say this.
To do once this is instated.
Well, let me say this. First of all, if that is imposed, and I got my doubts about it, because listen, let me tell you, this country, from Atlanta, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, you can put 10 million men in here on boots and still would not be able to tie. They couldn't tie down what? Iraq. They put 200 soldiers there. They couldn't tie that place down. And we're talking about some of the best technology they had. Literally, they could. Now, you got the most, let me tell you this. When Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and after they defeated the Japanese, they asked them, well, once you knocked out that fleet, why are you coming to California? They said, we're no fools. Americans got too many damn guns. So, in other words, to tie this down, and remember, what most people don't understand is simply this. You have more trained Navy SEALs, Rangers, Green Beret, you name it, anywhere else in the world. We have more trained retired. See, in the 1960s, my brother-in-law became a Green Beret, and they told him, I said, listen, you one of the few blacks that we allow to come a Green Beret or part of that Navy SEAL, because you know why? They said, you ain't gonna take that mess back to the hood and start an uprising. Okay. Now, we wise enough not to give you this type of information.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, with that many white people armed to the teeth, they're not gonna be able to tie this stuff down. It'll be worse than now. Remember when they went to Iraq and over there, they fought people that did not have the technical and military skills that these people have here in America, that mostly are whites.
Okay.
The Green Berets and et cetera, they're all retired. They're not going to be put on the boot of that stuff. Well, so you have one hell of a mess.
You know, years ago when I read the book, The Third Reich by Hitler, and I was reading and I noticed that the first thing they did was they started making laws, even for good people, to eliminate them possessing and owning weapons. They're trying to do that. However, they figured it might not work. That's why they built all these, I call them concentration camps, all over this country. And if you come up missing tomorrow, Doc, all right, your wife may think that you got hurt or fell out somewhere. And eventually, when they get troublemakers like us, all in those concentration camps, then I remember I had a brother-in-law who was a 100% real gangster. He was with Tony Spilotro and them kind of guys. And he used to try to get me. He said, look, with your brains, brother-in-law, and our nerve, we'd take over and run everything in the black community. I said, I ain't never wanted to be no gangster, man. Y'all want to be gangsters. He said, well, let me tell you something, brother-in-law. When they finish with all the good ends like us, they come in to get the bad ends like us. They come in to get the good ends like you.
Well, the guns that they talk about, they only talk about turning in guns in our community.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they don't talk about when that boy Loughran shot Gabby Gifford, the Congress lady out there.
Yes.
And they belonged to the same synagogue. They were friends, but they never put that out, that it was a Jewish boy that shot a Jewish woman.
That's it. But
the next day, Dr. Warren, that Glock 19 that he had sold out around the country.
Yeah.
They couldn't find one.
That's it.
White folks got to thinking and said that he shot 20 people with 19 bullets because one bullet hit 2 people.
Yes.
They went and bought every one of those Glock 19s in the country. While they're telling us to have gun turn-ins, them trade shows for those guns is one of the largest trade shows in America. And you heard what Charleston Heston said before he died.
Yeah.
I ain't giving in my gun. I'm not turning my gun in. I mean, you heard he said, I'm going to die with this gun?
Well, listen, I know, like in Georgia, I have white people I know. Listen, you can go down to Georgia and go to a show, and you can buy AK-47. You can buy just any type of gun. Just walk in and give them cash, and that's it. No what you call. But if you try to buy a handgun, you got to get registered. And you don't remember how I had a brother-in-law, friend of mine. He worked with Vietnam. My brother-in-law, he said you wouldn't believe how armed white people is. He said they went out to a hunt. People coming out with 50 calibers. I mean, you know, they bear hunt. I ain't talking about this little stuff that these people running around here in the city talking about. And throwing out hand grenades. Got plastic. He said, wait a minute, how you get plastic exposed? He said, that's none of your damn business.
But you know they have